I'm the bad guy. I'm the
Hello and welcome back to Across the Gridiron, and what a week 3 it was in the NFL. We had close games, we had block punts, we had block field goals, we had absolutely everything. And to break it down, we have once again myself, Matt Charles, and I'm joined as always by Eddie Equo. Eddie, did you enjoy week 3?
I did. And first of all, appreciate you guys for tuning in, and whether you've been rocking with us since episode 1 or this is your first time, we're glad you're here. And if you're enjoying this, hit that like button and subscribe. It does help us keep this rolling. Now, Matt, I did enjoy the game other than Sunday, which is probably when all the games are played. And you can guess the reason why. But, I was upset for, of course, see Philly doing their thing. Obviously, we've got Indiana Jones all over on the Colts. And, of course, my Cowboys. Come on, Jerry. You told me the defense was going to be better. You promised me that will be better without Micah. That's just a straight up lie. But let's get into it.
Yeah, are you finally learning that everything Jerry Jones says isn't actually true?
I think I knew this,
okay,
but somehow you always think, there's always an element, of truth somehow into all of that. But no, it was there's no way we were going to be better without Micah.
Well, look, there's plenty of time to break that down in our regular feature, Cowboys Corner, which I think is becoming a regular feature now. But look, I think this is quite an exciting episode, because for everybody watching us, for people watching us on YouTube or whatever video thing you're watching us on, this is ATG on the road. As we are both dialing in from random hotels
in the United Kingdom. Yes,
absolutely. So I'm in a lovely what should we call cost-effective hotel here up in Glasgow in Scotland. And Eddie, you can tell by those really rather fetching curtains, it looks like you're in your grandma's house.
I am in what they would call a classic restaurant. No, I say restaurant, classic hotel in a place called Lichfield. Work that one out. So no, we're both on the road, and maybe this sparks ideas. Maybe we take ATG on the road more frequently. I was actually
try and record it. Try and record in dodgy Wi-Fi's and dodgy hotels. I mean,
tell me about that.
Yeah. So if anyone, if we will apologize in advance if any of our internets do sort of crap out halfway through this recording. Yeah. It is not us. Yeah. It is not our house. It is the hotels that we are saying this. But we have we are fighting through this poor Wi-Fi to bring you this episode today, and we're actually recording this a day later than normal, because what we wanted to do, we're not always going to do this, but we thought we would try and get. So I thought we'd try and get this recording done after Monday Night Football, because there's obviously it was quite a big one. So why don't we start there, Eddie? This was the Detroit Lions at the Baltimore Ravens. Very much a heavyweight clash, which lived up to a lot of that lived up to its billing. Both teams went into this game 1-1. But in the end, it was Detroit Lions really sort of throwing their weight about a little bit and beating the Baltimore Ravens 38-30. So look, you've watched the highlights of this. I've yet to catch up on it, Eddie. So what did you make of this game? I mean, this was a pretty statement win here for the Lions, which was needed after last week.
It was. The Lions needed to get the first game out of their system, and they did that by absolutely pummeling the Bears, by scoring 50-something points. And then the Bears got upset, and then they came and they pummeled the Dallas Cowboys. But I digress. So the Lions look to me like a team who have just got their mojo back, from last season. I really, really loved this game. It was two heavyweight going against each other. Just like recently in boxing, there was a Canelo Crawford fight that, everyone was buzzing about. This probably didn't get a lot of hype going into the game as much as it should do, considering what the Lions have done in the previous seasons, and up till now. But you were going to look at quarterbacks that have done very well for their teams. You were going to see running backs that were doing very well for their teams, and you were going to see offensive that know how to score at will. And it did not disappoint. Maybe the slight disappointment was that we didn't get over 40 points. We're close, but we didn't quite get to 40 points. But for me, the story of this game, was clearly, all around the Ravens, right? The Ravens started the game very well. Well, actually, the Lions started the game because they scored on their first possession. The Ravens responded. And you can just kind of see, the Ravens, kind of buzzing, humming, their home ground. Derrick Henry broke out a run for a touchdown, actually as part of their first score. And then you're thinking the King is on point. The King is going to demolish this game. He was looking brutal. And then Derrick Henry causes another fumble yet again. And I think this is 3 games in a row that he's had a fumble. And this is not a good thing. And it makes people start to talk about, the Ravens and choking in the big moments. This is the reason why they haven't gone to the Super Bowl, because they get into the playoffs and they do some of these sort of things. But I think one of the things that you just cannot work out is how much points this defenses are letting go. And that's the thing that worries me about the Ravens, because we talked about the Ravens, before. They gave up 40 points, in another game. This game, they gave up 38 again. And you cannot sustain that in the NFL. You've got to keep the scores low. Even the coach came out and talked about the fact that they needed a bit more of a pass rush, in this game, and it was clearly evident, right? They were not giving Jared Goff any pressure whatsoever. He was just standing back, just surveying the land, saying hi to the crowd, and throwing the ball. You had, Jonathan Taylor, who was, not Jonathan Taylor, sorry, David Montgomery. I'm thinking about, another team that we're going to talk about. David Montgomery, and he went for over 100 yards. Amon St. Ra was catching balls, and Aiden Hutchinson on the Lions side. Oh my goodness. I think he's probably going to get the next big contract. He was flashing all over the place. And that's what a pass rush does. It takes the quarterback off the spot, ruins their timing, makes them hurry up, and then make mistakes. So I love that game. I love what it says about both teams. They can score points. I think for both teams, it's about, can you keep the other team away? And this time around, the Lions just did that slightly better than the Ravens.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I mean, I think it's, yes, although it was 38-30 in the end, the Ravens got sort of a late score towards the end. So the final sort of final score is probably closer than the game maybe suggested. But where do you think this goes now? So you've got the Lions are now 2-1. You've got the Ravens are now 1-2. Right, that is not where the Ravens would have expected to be. But do you look at this and think, okay, well, this is actually you look at the Ravens. You think, okay, they've got an offense that many teams, many franchises up and down the league would want, but then they don't have a defense to really back them up. Do you think this game? Do you look at this as more as a positive for the Lions in terms of the Lions just balled out and just beat the Ravens, or do you think this is something that the Baltimore should be concerned about?
Well, I mean, if I'm a Baltimore Ravens fan, I'll be delighted about what the offense is doing, and maybe defenses are fixable. I mean, we saw, teams make adjustments, going down the stretch, with their defenses, and the Ravens, typically do this. If I recall, last season they also had an up and down with their defenses. And then they kind of corrected themselves somewhere along the line. So I'll probably be happy that you can score, because scoring is hard in the NFL. And if you've got an offense that is not good, and you almost set yourself up, for somebody to take advantage of it. And when teams know that you cannot keep up with them in terms of scoring, then they can game plan for you a little bit better. So, when you've got the Ravens that can almost respond as well as you can score against them, it means that they've always got a chance to win. So I'll probably be happier the fact that the offense is humming, but I'll be saying to them, it's week 3, you still got a huge stretch of the season to go. You need to correct that defense, and you need to correct it soon.
Well, absolutely. I mean, the old adage is that, offenses win matches, but defenses win championships. And this is not a championship winning defense at the moment. I mean, look, nobody's suggesting that after 3 games that the Ravens are going to struggle to make the playoffs. I think that in the AFC North, you've got the Bengals, you've got the Steelers, and you've got the Browns, right? Steelers are ticking along under this new Aaron Rodgers regime, if you will. That's they've been spotty. You've got the Browns, who I actually think the Browns, certainly after this weekend, I think the Browns have potentially even got a shout at the playoffs, especially after the Bengals. And we'll touch on the Bengals a little bit more, but the Bengals got absolutely blown out by the Minnesota Vikings, and with Burrow's being out, they're going to be in a much weaker position for the next 2 or 3 months. So the Browns will still probably win that division, but I think there are a few bits to be concerned about. But let's move on to the next game, and this was a game that I'm sure you watched. With your fingers, your hands over your head trying to watch this one, Eddie. This was the Philadelphia Eagles and the LA Rams, and it ended Eagles 33, Rams 26. But Eddie, just looking at the score, that does not tell the whole story. At one stage going into the fourth quarter, I think going to quite into the fourth quarter, I think the Rams were 26-7 up, right?
Yeah.
The Eagles were getting booed off, right? The last year's Super Bowl champions were being booed off by their own fans. This is not really the city of brotherly love. But my God, that they step up, right? I know you're not a huge fan necessarily of the quarterback, whose name for some reason escapes me. Help me out. What's the quarterback's name?
Someone hurts.
There we go. Jalen Hurts. In the first half, from a passing yard perspective, they were -2 yards for passing yards in the first half. But stayed cool, stayed calm. I won the game in probably the most bizarre, albeit entertaining fashion of all time. Even you must have thought fair play, but I'm not going to do it just to Eddie. I'll let you talk through exactly what happened, how this game played out.
The Eagles are a bane. They're my absolute nightmare. They're what parents, tell their kids to scare them in the night, all the monsters and things under the bed. The Eagles feel like that for me as a Cowboy fan every time I watch them. Because just when you think that you've quenched them, no, they're not going to go. They're not going to go away quickly. They're not going to go away quietly. They rear their ugly head. And I was about celebrating a Rams victory, 26-7 at halftime. I was thinking I need to get my tweets on, what's going on, Cowboy fans, we can share, do a little bit of all of that. And then the Eagles just come back. I mean, the first half, this is a complete Jekyll and Hyde team. In the first half, they were not going anywhere fast. Saquon Barkley, you could have thought he was Saquon Barkley. It could have been somebody else, on that pitch, because he was doing nothing. Rams, were confident, scoring points, doing whatever they wanted. And then guess what? Philly remembered they have AJ Brown, because up until that time, I don't think he had been targeted at all in the game. And then what did they do? They threw AJ Brown a pass, and when a player gets a pass and does the whole shoulder thing, it's like activating that superpower of a wide receiver. AJ Brown did the shoulder thing, and then he became a monster. He was just, all over the place, catching balls, pushing people off, strong arming people, just basically dragging them, and Jalen Hurts, as painful as it is to me, because I was about to say, hey, there you go. He's not good, that quarterback. Next thing I know, he's throwing bombs, down the pitch, and I'm just like, oh, come on, guys. Can't you have an off day, and lose badly to a team that's a contender? And then their special teams took over. This is just ridiculous, right? This is like the equivalent of having a return for a touchdown from a punt return, and you do a 90 yards. And then, for equal measure, the next time you have a punt return, you go back again 90 yards. Jalen Carter swatted, a 36-yard field goal, I think, with 8:46 minutes left in the clock at the time. That would have put LA up by 29-21, right? Because it was 26-20, 21 at that time. So that would have put them back, because the Eagles have stormed back, within a couple of points, to tie in the game. So you're like, okay, get that out of your, system. And then the next thing, 3 seconds left in the game, the Rams have driven down the pitch, and that, well, they kicked this, and that's the ball game. And then Jordan Davis blocked the 40-yard try, scooped it, and the big man running on the pitch. It's always funny, like when you see one of the big men like galloping towards the end zone, and it seems like
I mean, let's basically, this is over a 300-pound individual, right? This is not a running back on the special teams. This is a big boy. Not only did he make the block, not only did he make the block, he was one who picked it up. He was one who ran 68 yards to bring it, and he used every single pound of that body. And he was fast.
He was
fast as well.
He was fast. I thought I do know what, at some point I thought the people were kind of not wanting to stop him. They were like, I want to see a big man score a touchdown, because he seemed like he was faster than even people that you would have thought, should have caught up with him.
I don't think you and I could run faster than him combined. It was incredible. And look, it was an amazing game. The Eagles rescued it. They certainly snatched victory from the jaws of defeat and all that kind of stuff.
They did.
But again, we talked about this with the Chiefs last year in particular. The Eagles are now 3-0. They have not played well in either of those games. You certainly feel that the offenses are quite firing. Barkley isn't firing on all cylinders. I said Hurts in the first half of this game was poor, but then he came out. He said that they realized that they had Brown as a receiver. I think he had 8. I think there were 6 attempts or 6 targets all season before this game. Then he had 6 in the second half of this game alone. It was crazy. But if you take your Cowboys hat off for the moment, how do you see this? Do you think this is them? This is good because they're winning while they're not playing well, and all of a sudden they are going to play well and they are going to win, and they could theoretically have an unbeaten season because they can't. They are playing poorly and winning. Or do you think they're not playing well? They could soon come up against someone and get smashed in the mouth unless they start playing better than this. What side of the coin are you on this one?
I'm running out of teams that I want to, pay as mercenary to take out the Eagles, right? And right now, I have no confidence in teams in the NFC. I don't know who I'm going to give my money next to take out, the Eagles, because I had my money on the Rams. I paid them good money, and I said, hey, listen, you got one job, take this team out, restore some credibility, back to the NFC. Let them not run away with the NFC East. They're probably going to do that, but let them not run away with the NFC as well. So I need to go and have some words with the Rams. They probably need to be giving me some money back because that was not what we agreed. Now I'm going to be looking at teams in the AFC now, to come and, smash them in the mouth, because I don't know if teams in the NFC are up to the task, because who's there, right? You've got the Packers, they could potentially do stuff, you've got the Vikings, don't trust them. Then you've got, Sam Darnold in the NFC, I don't know. 49ers, maybe. But you kind of looked at the Rams and thought, if they had a shot, they could be a team to do that. Now, the Lions are the team that potentially, with the way that they've been roaring, playing like a lion, not like a mouse. Maybe they might be the team that I might go to the back and get some loan to take out this Eagles team.
Yeah, well, the next 3 games for the Eagles are the Buccaneers, then the Broncos, and then the Giants. So the Buccaneers could be the Bucs could be a tricky game for them. I mean, we'll talk about the last minute drama before, but in Baker Mayfield at the moment, the Bucs have got a clutch quarterback at the moment, and we're gonna we'll touch on our bold. We'll do our bold predictions video probably tomorrow. But I'm liking what I'm seeing in the Bucs at the moment, and I think that Baker Mayfield is doing a great job at leading that team and taking it forward in clutch moments. And it would not surprise me if the Bucs actually pulled up an upset against Philadelphia. So if you want someone to hit him up, it could be the Bucs. I can't see it being the Broncos, and it's definitely not going to be the Giants. So yeah, let's hope for your sake, Eddie, that the Tampa Bay Buccaneers will do a job for you, and you don't have to pay them a lot of money to take them out. But let's move on to happier thoughts, and let's move on to the Dallas Cowboys. Let's move into Cowboys, Eddie, because my God, last week, if anybody watched our bold predictions episode, I made the bold prediction that by the end of the season, the Bears will not be starting Caleb Williams as their quarterback. And he must have heard this and thought, well, F you, random English bloke on the podcast that I've never watched before. I'm going to prove you wrong, because again, the Chicago Bears destroyed the Dallas Cowboys, and I'm just I can't dress it up in any ways. Eddie, from a Dallas perspective, you beat the Giants last week. You thought this was the beginning of the comeback. You then go to a team who has been poor. And I think for me, this just showed me how weak your defense is. This is the first time in, I think, Williams' whole NFL career he has not been sacked. Right? You guys could not get anywhere near him. And this just shows more and more that how the Micah Parsons trade has, not made your defense better, despite what Jerry Jones has said. So let's just dive into it. Let's hear your 5 to 10 minute rant on the Dallas Cowboys after this humbling defeat. And let me confirm the score for everybody, just so everybody knows. It was 31-14 to the Bears. Take it away.
Kick me when I'm down. Just kick me when I'm down, and while you are in, stomp on my head as well. Because this game was just. Let me just talk about the Bears, because I have Bears friends, friends that are fans of the Bears. So, I do want to, acknowledge the Bears and give them credit, right? So I'm going to try and, use the Bears to compose myself before I start talking about the Dallas Cowboys. Caleb Williams played his cleanest NFL game ever. This young man, was 19 for 28 at 298 yards, 4 touchdowns, 142 rating, right? He was just bombs away, every single time. And they had the confidence to do trick plays. I was like, what's going on here? It's like the flea flicker, thing. And I'm thinking, what's going on? Why is this thing? What are they doing? Next thing I know, bomb, end zone. I'm thinking, oh my goodness, what is going on here? It was just unbelievable. The rookie Luther Borden III, he was cooking. He was cooking. 101 yards on 3 grabs. Now, for those of you who are not completely familiar with the NFL, when a player takes 3 catches to get 101 yards, you know that he's not doing 10 yards grabs. We're talking about 20-something, 30-something, 40-something, 60-something yards. That's how open the Dallas Cowboys were. They lifted their skirts up and just showing everyone the goods. Their defense was absolutely horrible. Remy Odunze added a touchdown. the Bears took the ball away 4 times in that game. 4 times. And all of that happened in the last quarter of the game. What are we talking about here? I mean, the Cowboys looked inept. They looked incompetent. They looked clueless, out of ideas. Okay, let's start off. CeeDee Lamb goes off injured with a high ankle sprain. He's going to miss time, right? We're talking about 2 to 4 weeks, right? At the minimum. And that's always being overly cautious. You're probably not going to see him now until maybe Thanksgiving, right? Because we're already in October. So that's a huge blow to a struggling defense. So what are teams not going to do to the Dallas Cowboys when they play them? They've got nobody, right? And they've got a terrible defense. So what are we going to do? We'll score early, get the ball in possession. I bet you the next team the Dallas Cowboys play are going to win the toss, and then we'll want to receive the ball. Because if you score the Dallas Cowboys early, that's it. That's it. Now they're going to be struggling and trying to, and they cannot match people, point for point. The Dallas Cowboys have not got an offense that is flexible. The Bears took themselves, I think, 3 or 4 minutes to score 3 touchdowns. They were just came into the game, boom, touchdown. The Cowboys need 7 minutes to get a field goal. That's not going to help you at all in the NFL. And then, Trevon Diggs, also, went up as well. Listen, right? Jerry Jones told me that the defense would be better without Micah. Oh, we've got, first round picks, which, spoiler alert, don't help you in the season that you currently get the first round picks for. So that's useless. And then, okay, we are able to sign all the players, and we started spending our money to everyone in the team, just giving people money as if it's going out of fashion, and oh yeah, we go and get, oh, by the way, Kenny Clark, I think he got injured. So the player that we traded for Micah Parsons is potentially injured, and we don't have them. Listen, it's a mess in the Cowboys. And honestly, right now, I'm watching them for S and giggles right now, because I cannot see where they go from that. Even Dak Prescott cannot save them, currently the way that team is.
No, it's a mess. I mean, you talk about the average yards. You had 4 Browns receivers averaged more than 15 yards per reception over the course of that game, right? It's a mess. And look, the Browns are a team that are improving. The one thing that the Browns have, they have a lot of weapons, right? They have a lot of first round, second round picks. When you talk about Williams, you've got Rome Odunze, you've got Loveland, you've got lots of good players out there, right? So, but they can be pressured. As I said, Williams is not. He is certainly used to the odd sacking in a game. You got nowhere near him, right? And you see the thing that I think would concern me more if I was a Cowboys fan, heaven help me, would be that it just seems to be like a lack of leadership. You had Pickens, throwing his helmet off. You had people sat on the touchline with the towels over their head as if they're getting beaten by 30, 40 points. It just seemed to be a sort of a lack of fight. And I think that we talked a lot in the offseason about this whole Parsons trade deal and what it could mean to the morale in the team.
Yeah.
And it seems to me, again, from an outside looking in, obviously we could not be further removed from the Dallas Cowboys changing rooms. But from what you're seeing, it just doesn't look like there's either a lot of leaders in that dressing room, or they just don't know how to turn this around. And I don't know if this has started from the season, is it just because was this an isolated game, or is it because all the stuff that went on in preseason is affecting them? And it's not just this game. I mean, we might touch on the Giants a little bit, but I think it's clear in New York that Russell Wilson isn't the answer. You guys made him look like prime Tom Brady last week, right? And the Giants are one of, if not the worst team in the league at the moment. And you made that game a lot closer than it should have been. That was papering over a lot of cracks, and you only just squeaked by. And it was only because of a poor Wilson throw in the Q4 that you got an opportunity to take it to overtime in the first place. So, it's again, I wouldn't say it's a worry for me because I actually think this is my favorite part of the week, listening to you rant about the Eagles. Rant about the Cowboys. So the fact that you've lost again in this manner is hilarious for me. But it doesn't look good, does it?
No, doesn't look good. And look, doctors all over the US will be prescribing to teams that have to play the Cowboys. If you come in on a doctor's visit and like, oh doctor, I'm not feeling too well, he's gonna ask you, who are you playing next? It's like the Cowboys. Don't worry. See me after the game. I'm sure you'll be doing quite well. The Cowboys, anybody who wants to pick me up, go play the Cowboys because you're going to look good. You're going to look amazing. Your players are going to get contracts on the back of Cowboy games, because that's just how it is. Listen, this team, right, are prone to doing things like this. They sell the big game, talk the big game, but then little action to back it up. Rookie coach, Schottenheimer, this is his first time as a coach. Matt Eberflus is looking like all the problems he had in the Bears, he brought it. And for me, that is very frustrating because I thought, he was a coach in against the Bears. Surely he would have come with some trade secrets. What's the point, right? When you coach a team for that long, you can't even bring something that is of value to a team that you're now coaching, playing against a team that you used to coach. But
to be fair, to be fair to Eberflus, he was going into that. He was coming into that locker room thinking that he still had Parsons, one of the best pass rushers in the league, and he doesn't have that. Right? I don't think you can blame. Eberflus hasn't started well. I think it's fair to say, but I don't think you can lay the blame at his door for this one necessarily. And the next three games are. You've got, well, let's not talk about the next three games. The next game is going to be a tasty one because it's against Micah Parsons' Packers, right? So you've got Packers, you've got the Jets, and you've got the Panthers. So if we agree that next week's going to be a tough game, I'm sure we'll preview that later on this week. You could there is potential to turn around against the Jets, who haven't started strong, and Panthers, who again had a fantastic win and weekend just gone. That's they are certainly a beatable side, but no, it doesn't look good for you at the moment. But look, let's move on before this Cowboys corner becomes like a Cowboys like town center. Let's look. So they're the three main games I think we wanted to cover off. But let's look at some of the other things that we kind of noticed from this weekend. It was certainly a block party, the NFL in week 3. Loads and loads of close games. We talked about the block field goal or the block field goal attempt, obviously in the Phillies game, but that was not alone. Now, I've always, over the course of the season, you may get one or two blocked field goals that get returned, or a couple of blocked field goals that might save or win a game. There were 6, I think, this weekend, and all in the early games on Sunday. It was an absolutely crazy week. And we talked about the Eagles. The Bucs got one last minute. The Browns won last minute through one. The Chargers won. I mean, it was special teams were really a focal point of week 3, weren't they, Eddie?
Yeah, and listen, I was thinking to myself, why do they call them special teams? Right?
Special teams, special plays. That's what J Bell says.
It's like they ran out of names. They were like, "Oh, we're gonna call you guys offense. We're gonna call you guys defense. What do we call you guys? Right? Okay, we're gonna settle on special teams, right? And certainly they showed why they're special, right? They showed, why it's important, to have a good special team. It's complementary football. It's defense. It's offense. It's special team. And sometimes you're going to rely on someone kicking the ball to win you a game, and the special teams, look at the Eagles, 2 block punts, right? That block field goals. That's just incredible. And then you've got buzzers, going off and people walking off with victories because the kickers have done their job, and then you have teams like, if you don't have a good kicker, you're screwed. Look at the Falcons. They cut their kicker, for missing a field goal at the end of the game. Even 49ers, I believe, they caught their kicker the beginning of the season. I think his name is Moody or so. They kicked because they needed, the field goal kicker to help them win the game as well. So clearly special teams are important. Clearly a good kicking game is important, and we saw that last weekend.
Yeah, it was just some incredible action. Let's move the talk away from special teams. Talk about some special or even not so special quarterbacks or someone who have been disregarded in the past. But look, let's start our little quarterback debrief with Mr. Indiana Jones himself, Daniel Jones at the Colts, because once again the Colts turned on the style and won once again. Now, the Colts have had some fantastic quarterbacks in their history, right? Without question, right? And you can reel off name after name after name.
Andrew Luck,
Yeah, Peyton Manning, there's some fantastic ones. But none of them have, in their entire history, have gone 3-0 in the beginning of a season and had without a single interception. It's Daniel Jones has come in and just been an absolute, has changed the mentality of that team, something else. And he was only named the starter like a week or so before the season started over Anthony Richardson. Yeah. But more and more, that looks like an absolute inspired decision. And I'm just trying to find a score from for the last weekend. But again, they beat a fairly poor Tennessee Titans team, so they beat 41-20 in the end. And the Colts haven't really played any strong opposition yet, but you can only play what's in front of you. And Daniel Jones has resurrected his career here, so it's a really good feel-good story, wouldn't you say?
I love it. I love Daniel Jones, otherwise now to be known as Indiana Jones, because, Indianapolis Colts have found themselves, a Jones, to actually, go and discover all the treasures. Listen, all the puns, all the memes, are perfect for this story. Here's a guy who couldn't just catch a break in New York. And you were never sure whether he was good, whether he was not. And we've talked about how it's important for quarterbacks to go into the right system, and sometimes you don't really know how good or bad a quarterback is until they actually move teams. And then you can actually figure out, okay, was it the team that was holding them back, or was it the quarterback, that wasn't just progressing in the right way? And Daniel Jones, fair play to him, and I know that he had to take everything to win this particular game, but I like what I'm seeing, right? I almost feel like they need a loss to almost not put the weight of expectation, of them continuing to keep this up, because it's ridiculous. The stats are ridiculous. So you almost need like a close loss, not like a bad loss, but like a close loss to be like, okay, get that out of our system. We're not under pressure to be like almost perfect in every single game. But fair play to Daniel Jones. And of course, there's mentions for Sam Darnold. He's gone to the Seahawks and absolutely mollywhopped the Saints. And listen, we already talked about the Saints. They've got no quarterback, right? So this was not unexpected, right? Teams are going to go and play the Saints and they're going to beat them, except you're the Cowboys. But that's a different, story. Then you've got Carson Wentz, who I didn't even know was still in the league, right? So Carson Wentz steps up for the Vikings. And remember, he was brought in after they had traded away Sam Darnold to the Seahawks. So Carson Wentz comes in and he looked like, 48 to 10, 14 of 20. I mean, I don't know in what maths you do that, but 14 of 20, it's not a bad percentage, right? I mean, it's not over 200 yards, but yeah, it is a very good percentage. 2 touchdowns. I think over 100 in rating. So that's just, absolutely amazing. They've got Marcus Mariota, for the Commanders. With Jaden Daniels out, he comes in, he looks good. 15 or 21, 270 yards, 41-24. I mean, that's just, ridiculous. Mac Jones, I want to give him credit, but then it's Kyle Shanahan. So it's always a difficult thing for quarterbacks who go into the Kyle Shanahan system because they always seem to produce. I mean, he still had an interception in his game, but he played all right. And then, Tyrod Taylor, also, played well. I know he didn't have a win, but he nearly stole it. We're talking about the Jets here. And if you watch that game, look out for the celebration by the coach. And I thought it was one of the funniest thing, ever to see in an NFL game this Sunday. But Jake Browning struggled for the Bengals. He did. He struggled. And considering his last game before this, I didn't see that coming.
I think the interesting out of all of this, it shows to me the importance of having a good, dependable backup. And I know that you've got like Mariota, Wentz, the two that you've mentioned, Mac Jones. They're not going to come cheap. They're going to take significant amount off a cap. But you look at the Bengals, who have unfortunately lost Burrow for maybe 3 months. And again, this isn't a pile on to Jake Browning at all, but he's not going to be a quarterback that's going to take you to the playoffs. He's someone who will come in and maybe do an odd couple games. But they got hammered by the Vikings, and Carson Wentz, fair play to him. This is his 6th different team in 6 years, right? So he has turned into an absolute journeyman quarterback, but coaches will know that he can come in and take a team on his shoulders for however many weeks it will be. And I think that the Vikings, I tell you what, if you're a quarterback whose career is kind of on the way and you're being cut, go and get yourself to the Vikings. They'll sort you out.
They will.
He's got the job obviously, I think, for next week, and JJ McCarthy, who's obviously the starting QB, or certainly that's why they traded out Sam Darnold, because they had JJ McCarthy, who was injured last season. Carson Wentz might give them something to think about, right?
He might.
He might well do. So I think it's just really interesting to see how these rookie QBs did. Obviously, you mentioned Mariota doing really well at 49ers, but he even came out and said, "Look, this is Purdy's team. I'm holding it down for him." But yeah, so again, it's just really interesting to see how the backups did. And so as the last thing that's maybe worth mentioning for my own sanity, Eddie, are you still there?
I am still there. I went to. The network actually went off, and
yours or mine?
But I think mine. Maybe because maybe if yours didn't go off, because he just all of a sudden just froze. I thought, okay.
Well, here's the important question: do we keep that in?
Maybe we do, right? Because maybe
we do.
Yeah.
And I mean, I was going to quickly talk about the one other thing I want to mention was the battling Cowboys performance. Obviously still got beaten by the Bills, but at least there was signs of promise. But to be honest, I don't think I needed to anymore. I think I honestly think that's probably a really good place to finish this week's episode. I think that's you disappearing and seeing your old granny curtains in the background. It's exactly what we want.
Exactly.
Well, I'll tell you what. Let's call that time there. I think we've talked for everything we want to talk about. I said it was a fantastic week 3. We are going to be back later on this week where we're going to do more ridiculous snap judgments, and we're also going to give our predictions for week 4. So again, everyone, thank you for joining us in this really sort of what's felt like a slapdash episode of Across the Gridiron on the road. The snap judgments and the predictions will also be on the road. I will be in a different hotel altogether. And don't worry, my wife hasn't thrown me out. This is for work purposes. But for now, Eddie, let's wrap up week 3 and take us home.
Yeah, so I mean, week 3 gave us chaos, but I think it gave us clarity as well. Clarity that the Eagles are not going to go away. Clarity that the Cowboys are no good, and maybe clarity that the Lions might still have fighting them. And let's not forget Indiana Jones. Over there at the Colts. So Cowboy fans, we've got work to do. But let's see, hit us with your reactions from week 3. Put that into the comments. Join in the conversations as well. And please, if you love what we've just done, hit that like, subscribe, and share it with everyone that you know. Let a friend know about Across the Gridiron happening in the United Kingdom. But till the next time, guys, take it easy.
I'm the bad guy. I'm the